we were a much smaller company. So if you got to the $10,000 30 day prize, we would have been sweating a little bit. We were watching the game. We were watching the games that he was picking on and kind of rooting for the other team.
Welcome to another episode of Behind the Lines, the only sports betting podcast purifying the sports betting industry. Remember to like, download, subscribe, and follow us on all the socials at InPlay Live. On today's show, we just have a whole bunch of hot takes. We'll get to that in a moment. I'm your host, Shane Mercer, as always, joined by Andrew Pace, founder of InPlay Live, a community of like-minded sports bettors dedicated to long-term success. And we're very excited to welcome to the show the team from Hot Takes. Tyler Amaro, CEO, James White, co-founder and COO, and Kevin Jing, Chief Financial Officer. Guys, welcome to the show. Great to have you all.
Thanks so much, Shane. Really appreciate it. Yeah, excited to be here.
Really appreciate it, Shane.
Awesome, guys. Yeah, welcome. So I've downloaded the app today, and I'm just getting familiar with Hot Takes, and I've checked out your Instagram, which is pretty cool and a lot of fun to kind of scroll through and enjoy. But explain to everybody out there, what is Hot Takes? How does it work? I'll throw it out to the CEO, over to Tyler.
For sure, yeah. So Hot Takes is trying to solve this problem of onboarding in sports betting. What we're trying to offer is just to newbies is a free-to-play game where you can come and kind of like paper trade, but for sports betting. So like the dream is to offer this environment where like people can come on, try out sports betting for the first time. Usually we're targeting like beginners. You come on, we'll give you pick tokens every day. And you get to use those to make wagers and practice a little bit. And when you win, we actually give you real money. So that's kind of the concept. We're en route to that destination. Right now we have a kind of precursor to that live in Ontario. But yeah, Hot Takes is trying to solve this problem of onboarding newbies in the space. And we also, in Ontario, we do a lot of social media work as well. And we do some live events as well.
Okay. I got to ask then, how does it work? I come on, I can make picks. I don't use any real money, but if my picks wins, you're going to pay me?
Yeah, you got it. That's the idea. So we're trying to, we kind of thought a lot about how, when someone signs up for Spotify or Netflix, typically like our generation, Gen Z, they prefer free trials when they're getting into something like that, or they're going to be spending money on a regular basis. So we want to offer a free trial, like the ability to really practice and experience that winning feeling, but without staking your actual money. And you're probably wondering what the business model is there.
Yes.
And I can say that at the end of the day, sports betting operators really care about retention and acquisition. So that's the problem we're trying to solve is being this space for newbies to come in and experience sports betting and you potentially turn someone that was hesitant, not really sure about being a sports bettor, into someone that has some confidence and actually understands some of these concepts that take a little longer. Spreads, parlays, how do you read American odds? It took me a while when I first got into it. So we're trying to be that teacher in that place where it's safe. You can come in and test the waters.
Right. Okay. I got to ask though. So if you're going to give me free money, how much am I going to get for my bets? Like I gotta have some sort of sense here. If I'm going to come and make some picks there and my picks are going to be winners, how much are you going to pay me out and how's that going to work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So like right now, the model we have that's live, the app is streak based. So every day you make your picks. And if you get them right consecutive days in a row, you can grow your streak. Now, the vast majority of the prizes we sent out have been gift cards ranging from 25 to we even sent out a couple like $250 gift cards. But when I say a couple, I mean a couple. Usually people are winning smaller $25, $50 Uber Eats gift cards, or Airbnb or whatever floats their boat. But typically it is smaller and the prizes are a little harder to win. When we graduate to the States, which is coming at some point late this year, it's going to be region dependent, but you will be able to win if you play consistently, $5 to $20, $50 a month. It'll depend a lot on, whether you know what you're talking about and your picks are hitting or not. But yeah, it'll be somewhere in that range.
Okay, really interesting there. Who do you guys use for an odds provider, or how do you source your odds?
We actually have a couple providers. The main one we're working right now is Sports Data.io, which I'm guessing you're familiar with.
Yes. Yeah, definitely heard of them. So that's your main source of odds. That's where you're getting your data feed from.
Mm.
Right. Okay. I'm going to throw it over to James. James, as a co-founder, where did this idea come from? And why did you think something like this was needed in the space or would be successful in the space?
Yeah, no, great question there, Shane. It's really funny. So Ty and I actually lived together at university. So the great idea how it started was it was COVID and we were in second year university. So both Ty and I have known each other since high school. So since grade 9, we've known Kevin since kind of first year university. So we've all been pretty good friends for quite a while now. But yeah, it was a COVID year. We were all like in our living room and very entrepreneurial. We all took business or engineering at school. And I'd actually worked for a marketing agency called Salt XC. And on the agency, my real goal and the account I was working with was PointsBet Canada, that was like recently becoming legal in Ontario. So I basically had worked and helped them create their strategy, help them like actually launch in Ontario. And with that, I learned a lot more about the Ontario gaming market and just general North American sports gaming market. We saw those like becoming legalized in Ontario, and that it has been legalized in the US for quite some time. And as a big kind of diehard sports fan who has been following like the Leafs and both NHL, NBA, NFL for my whole life, anything to do with sports was really exciting to me. So I kind of came back from that internship learning a lot about the industry. And yeah, we were all big sports fans and also big kind of sports betting fans. We obviously knew it was like a new market that we'd love to eventually explore and get into. And the biggest thing for us is like really understanding, as sports fans, we kind of understood the lingo and the jargon when it comes to sports betting. So we knew what a parlay was. We knew what the different odds were, but it's not intuitive. We understood it wasn't that intuitive to different people. And being a university student, the disposable income isn't usually there. Typically, with disposable income as a student, you only have a few bucks you want to throw away. You're not really working during the school year. You want to try and save up as much as possible. And the money you do spend is going towards your basic necessities. So we kind of thought to ourselves, it'd be really cool to kind of create some sort of platform where you can still make free picks, but win prizes for your free pick knowledge. So that was the original idea. As people kind of in second year who are 19, 20 years old do, we kind of got right onto it and tried to actually create this idea. We were lucky that Ty was obviously doing software engineering and was, really interested in mobile development. So he kind of said like, hey, let me give it a shot, see what I can do. Although he's never had any experience really doing that before. And he basically self-taught it. And then on my side, kind of doing a lot more market research and seeing what we can actually do on a legal front. And very much almost like a school project, a little bit of something that was like a passion project that we didn't really foresee becoming anything close to a reality or a full-time job. But slowly as we grew, obviously the market grew too, and we got very lucky.
Right. Okay. I want to come over to Kevin now because I'm still a bit stuck on the business model side of things. And Kevin, since you're chief financial operator, I want to sort of dig into this a little bit with you here. If I can download the app for free, I'm using it for free. I can follow you on Instagram, obviously for free. But if my picks are going to win, you're going to pay me out something, and you got prizes for everybody. How are you turning a profit long term on this? Or what is the path to profitability with a business like this?
Yeah, that's a great question, Shane. And quite frankly, when we first launched in October 2022, our app, we were getting a lot of users, but we didn't really find a way to monetize them. And eventually we stumbled upon the affiliate model. So we realized that, our app serves as a great stepping stone towards an actual valuable user for a sports book. As Ty alluded to earlier, we find that free trials are really strong in this industry. There's a lot of struggle that comes into getting a user to sign up from a sportsbook's perspective. There's a lot of KYC that they have to go through. There's a lot of learning that they have to go through. And what we find with our generation is that if a user hasn't done the motions before, they're most likely to not make it through all the steps to sign up, which is why sportsbooks are willing to pay good CPA deals to affiliates like us to help onboard users and get them through the process. So what we found is on top of the app, we also host a whole suite of digital assets. So that's where our social media ties in, our tutorials that we post, our in-person activations. This whole suite of assets we have in Ontario really serves to have multiple touch points with all of our users and get them really comfortable with not only us, Hot Takes, as a brand, but also trusting us to be that guiding hand towards them into the sports betting world. So From that perspective, how we monetize is our books will pay us a upfront fee or sometimes a hybrid deal where they'll offer us a share of the revenue for the users that we bring on through specific links.
Right. Got it. Okay. So you're going the affiliate route as sort of your main path to generating revenue. Okay. That makes a little more sense now. Okay. I want to ask then about the tools that you're offering and how people access them, and what exactly are you offering when it comes to sports betting education? Because Pace and I are pretty well versed in this space, especially Pace and everything that we sort of offer over at In Play Live. And I want to get a sense of what are you guys offering when it comes to this a space of tools, resources, and education and that kind of thing. And whoever you think is best to answer the question, please jump in and go ahead.
Cool. So yeah, we have a social media team that works to like post clips and we'll do typical sports content stuff. So we'll post like picks of the day, parlay of the day, and our content team will work on explaining like what that means and walking through like how they came to some of those picks. So through social media, we'll have a number of those, and we also have a TikTok too, where we post a lot of those. Now, also on our app, we have a tutorial page that'll kind of walk you through like what's a spread? How do I read this? How do I read the odds? How do I think about making these picks? And then we also on our website have a sportsbook ranking page. We find that a lot of the time, like there's a number of different dimensions where people will kind of look towards different sports books. So, some people might really get frustrated by like the withdrawal process and the depositing process. So we'll rank the sports books on that facet. Sometimes they want more features and more markets. Sometimes people want less features. They want a really simple, easy to read interface that's a little more intuitive. So we'll rank them on that. Sometimes like different books work better for different people. So we'll try to help people find the right book for them and what they're looking for. Not everyone needs like 20 different leagues and every different kind of player prop that's out there. Sometimes beginners, they just want the main lines. They're not going to be making like multi-game parlays and stuff like that. So we really try to introduce people to the concept slowly. Our old app focused on point spreads, which we thought was like one of the main concepts that you really have to wrap your head around when you're first starting out, and trying to explain like what the negative and positive mean in that way. And the new app, we're focusing on adding player props and game totals as like the next evolution in that process, and then also explaining a parlay. And we're using like visuals to kind of show how the odds get multiplied together. We're using like a variation on decimal odds because we find it a bit easier to get the first time you get into it. But we really think that like explaining how parlays work is pretty key, and trying to teach users to kind of budget their payroll. That's why we're switching to this in-game currency model versus streak model, because I do think that like we've noticed at university, a lot of friends that would get frustrated because they would kind of blow through all the money they had for sports betting in one night. But that's really not what you want, right? You want to, as a long-term sports bettor, build the muscle of, okay, like I want to spend this much this month. This is my budget, and if I win, great. But how do I make that last over this event, right? We want to kind of teach that, like actually working with a bankroll. That's why we're switching to this like token based model. We're always working and talking to people like you guys to hear feedback and looking for more ideas to incorporate responsible gaming. But I know James is also launching an initiative to get some more tutorial videos posted, because those have done pretty well when we have tried them.
But just to kind of add to Ty's point right there, I think any way to make responsible gaming education exciting is our big goal here. So we understand that sometimes to our demographic, Gen Z, as kind of Ty mentioned, really trying to appeal to making responsible gaming quote unquote sexy, and really try to have people prioritize that, understand that education and that aspect of sports gaming and gaming in general is pivotal and really, really important. So by having different really exciting videos that, obviously Gen Z loves short form content videos. So we want to make sure we can appeal to that and have those different short form contents out, but also making it kind of exciting and more interesting. So the big thing for our company is getting a lot more responsible gaming focused. And having different, Instagram pages for entertainment and kind of sports clips, but also very much for education and responsible gaming. So we have that and different resources on our website and on our app, basically giving you different helplines and really trying to show you resources available for you to learn more about responsible gaming and just overall about limits and what you should be comfortable playing with.
I gotta ask, because this term, responsible gaming, responsible wagering, responsible gambling, whatever you want to call it, it tends to mean different things to different people, and that's kind of something that we're starting to sort of realize. I know it means one thing to Pace and I. It means something very different to the sports books and operators out there. It means something different to the regulators. Across the various jurisdictions, as this sort of becomes normalized across North America. So I want to ask, like, what does responsible wagering, responsible gaming mean to you guys?
Yeah, I can start. It makes me think of, I was talking to Paris Smith actually a couple months ago, and she said something that really stuck to me. She was talking about how, like, it actually is so people think of responsible gaming education sometimes as like, oh, it's an extra thing to invest into if you're an operator or in the industry. It's kind of like tangential, but she was actually mentioning how it's actually in the operator's best interest for bettors to be educated on responsible gaming. And what does that mean? Personally, I think it means, being able to manage a bankroll first and foremost, but also, putting money on things that are good value. And I think you guys could probably talk a lot to that. But there are different kinds of bets when it comes to value. And people our age sometimes will, not all the time, but sometimes will put a bunch of money on like very, very high payout parlays that a lot of the time, you're giving the book a huge margin there, and the books love that. But at the end of the day, if you want to be in it for the long run, you have to be hitting some of those parlays. So at the end of the day, we books do want users that are winning sometimes, because if they don't, they're not going to stay, right? And they're not going to be a better for 5, 10, 15 years. So it actually is in an operator's best interest for their users to be like educated in the sense that they can manage a bankroll and that they're winning, right? You want someone that's going to be there for the long term. So you want someone that is, their bankroll is going up and down, but they are still experiencing that feeling of, okay, like we hit today, we got to pay out. So that's my take on it.
That's interesting. Okay, I'll say this: sports books don't want me there for the long term, and they definitely don't want Pace there for the long term. And we get booted off books regularly. So we got to ask that. What are your thoughts on limiting and what sports books are doing in that space, especially since you're going down the sort of affiliate route in terms of your path to profitability?
Yeah, I think limiting is important. I've heard of many people who've kind of said the same thing to me, that they get kicked off sports books pretty often because they have incredibly high EV like betting, and they have good picks that typically win. I think limiting is a normal factor. I think if there's a way to kind of beat the book, and obviously there's a lot of different people we see out there, different conferences and different just connections and networking events that have platforms basically entirely around beating operators' odds and finding ways to kind of arbitrage and find like basically a competitive advantage or an advantage over them. So it makes sense. I think that is important, but I think that is a bit of a niche group. I think there are a lot of people who still love their quote unquote centipedes, where they have long parlays that maybe aren't the best value and bang for buck, as we say. So I think it's also important on both sides. Limiting people who are trying to take advantage of the sports book and of the different deals makes sense. You got to kind of protect your company and make sure people aren't exploiting you too much. But I think at the same time, there are people who will lose a lot of money consistently as well and don't know and chase the winnings. We see often people, maybe win a parlay and will lose all that money they won on the parlay in the casino later on. So there's both sides of it, both people who are taking advantage of it in the right way and people who are being taken advantage of. So I think limiting them in either way is good for both the book, but also good for your players. You want to make sure you're not necessarily taking advantage over people.
Mm-hmm. And on this note, I think what we've seen is there's like a divergence of players in terms of what value they find they get out of sports betting. So as James was alluding to, one group of people, such as you two, are getting monetary value from it, or at least they're seeking the monetary value. They believe that there's arbitrage opportunities, there's EV betting, there's boosts, there's ways to extract as much value as you can from the sports books. But I think what we've seen is there's also this vast majority of players that get the value from making sports more exciting. For a lot of people, when they have something at stake on the sports game, whether it's a particular outcome or a particular player, doing something, it makes them more invested in the game and it makes the game more fun and engaging with them. And I think that to us is the route we're trying to focus down on is this segment of users, which we find can be the majority of people. And I think how it all ties back into responsible gaming is we want to really hold hands with the people going down this path and show them that, hey, at the end of the day, you won't be positive sports betting, but if you view it as, a subscription fee essentially to make all of your sports more exciting and to make you that much more engaged in the game and just a better fan, then it's worth it, right? Because a lot of people pay so much for sports and just to stream it, just to be engaged with it. Why not have this extra little bit of spend so that you're super invested in it and that, you can cheer even harder than you have before? That's the path that we've seen sports books kind of appreciate because those are the users that will bring them the long-term value. But I think it's interesting the psychology behind bettors and what they're really seeking to gain out of the sports books.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right that the sports books certainly want more of those players that are there strictly for the entertainment purposes, as opposed to trying to make a profit off of them long term. Back to the idea of responsible gaming tools. It sounds like you guys talked a little bit about how to read the odds, decimal system versus American odds and parlays, and how those have a negative expected value over time, and how to make them and what the spreads mean, and sort of all of that is very sort of rudimentary, especially for our audience. That's sort of like bare bones, like that's like somebody who's never bet on sports before at all. Do you have anything, or are you planning to offer anything that would appeal to somebody who has been betting on sports for a long time and is perhaps looking to take it to the next level or wants to be profitable long term?
Yeah. So that's kind of what we're working on in our newest product. So what we're trying to do is on top of have it be a little elementary in how we show you how to read odds and make parlays. What we also want to do is have profiles where you're showcasing your results, and we're going to have a concept called like a heat rating, so you can see who is performing over the long term, and how consistently are they hitting their picks, right? So this is going to be a kind of a social system where you can like hold your friends accountable if they're talking up and acting like they're hitting everything. Well, now you can go on and you can see their actual performance, and there'll be boosts associated with and profile boosts associated with being hot. But this is a way that you can actually see, can someone hit consistently, because at the end of the day, everyone's going to have the same bankroll, but people will win vastly different amounts of coins, we call them. So yeah, the idea is really to create a social community where like people are being held accountable, and if you claim to be so good, come and test it against reality and test it against your peers. That's what we're trying to build is this kind of social environment where you can learn and practice, and also showcase how good you are, right?
Yeah, okay, that sounds pretty cool. Do those tokens have any sort of actual value, real world value?
Yeah, so the tokens themselves, no. And one of the key things we've kind of thought about is can users buy tokens? And what we're thinking is no. So everyone's going to have the same bankroll. Everyone's starting from the same place. But if you hit a pick, you'll be rewarded in coins, and coins are convertible to cash. So coins do have value.
Okay. Huh, interesting. That's a cool concept. Looking to see what that looks like when it rolls out. I want to ask you guys about regulation, kind of across North America, because it is so different depending on where you are, and I want to know sort of how it kind of impacts what you guys are doing, or if it does, and how. But you mentioned Paris Smith earlier. Big shout out to Paris, who we had on the show a couple of weeks ago, and I encourage all of our audience members to go have a listen to that episode if you haven't yet. But former CEO of Pinnacle, and she shares a lot of her sort of ideas on the current state of regulation and how it's kind of shifting and changing. But I'm curious, where do you sort of see this product fitting into the landscape, and how does sort of regulation impact that position?
Yeah, I can start with some thoughts and then throw it over to the guys if they want to add something. I think one of the key things that we love about this idea of like onboarding and retention is, a lot of bettors want a reason to be loyal to one book or another. Limiting might be one reason why certain people don't like a book and like another book. But there's a lot of reasons. But sometimes books can be a bit commoditized, and I think there's nothing wrong with giving some rewards back to loyal users. I think loyalty is great, and I think rewarding loyalty makes complete sense in the gaming market. There obviously is a line where inducement can go too far, but what we're really excited about is using some new tech to allow users to link their betting accounts, and then we can get insights into how much they're betting and what they're betting on. And we like the idea of being able to reward them, for showing loyalty to different books. That gives us a lot of, helps us provide value to our customers and our clients. We see it as a win-win. Now there are lots of regions where, for whatever reason, the inducement laws don't, would say you can't do that, and that's fine. Obviously, like different regions will operate differently. But to us, we do think that as long as you don't cross the line on the inducement front for a new player, there's nothing wrong with rewarding people for showing that loyalty.
Yeah, okay, interesting. So focused on loyalty and book loyalty. I wish I could stay loyal to some of those soft books. They just won't allow it. Believe me.
I'd be as loyal as they come.
But Pace, there are books that we can be loyal to. Imagine having your Pinnacle linked to something like this, right?
Totally. Yeah. I think that's so I always look at, there's a few new ideas out there that I've heard about floating in the industry, new businesses, etc. And I know, like, if you just take like something like OddsJam as an example, there's always the challenge of like the actual linking process, and there's like companies like that will help track your wagers as well, which is when you talk about responsible gambling, I think at like its most elementary form, tracking your wagers is probably the single most responsible thing that you can do. That, of course, is not offered by any of the sports books. Can I see my wagers after I made them? Yes, that has to be readily apparent to me. Can I export them? Can I categorize them? Not at all, right? Some books can offer your loss or win or loss profile over a certain time frame, and the challenge then becomes actually, of course, making that link, and then the other side of that challenge is sportsbooks are always looking for a reason to either keep the money that you have in your account and not having it withdrawn so that it continues to get played with, or actually finding a reason not to pay you. And one of the biggest reasons would be connected to technology. So, you were using said services, that whether it's VPNs, whether it's an actual bot placing the wagers for you on your behalf, which I know a site like Pinnacle does allow to an extent, that'll be a reason for another sports book not to pay you, right? So then when you go link your profile with these sports books, it has to be obviously a scenario where the player isn't punished for it and that the sports book actually allows that to happen. And then once that happens, like once that link is made, that's where you can really do some special things, right? Like you can show people tremendous levels of detail on their wagers. So James, you were talking about the lottery parlays, the lottery parlay culture and how big it is. And, you said guys your age. It's not guys your age. It's you guys are a part of it, but it's the industry as a whole, right? It's psychology of a human being. Just adding one more pick onto it and the balance doubling, or the theoretical payout doubling. Meanwhile, your expected loss just doubled as well. With the house edge just compounded further, right? So like your ability to achieve that could be such an amazing differentiator. I know some people are doing it already, but could be an amazing differentiator where obviously, you have this system that you guys have built where you can bet for free. So take out the affiliates and all that stuff. Like take that out. You can bet for free. And I know the affiliates allow you to then be able to give them something for a winning bet. Like you can bet for free win something on the other side, but also show your profile. So showing your profile might be the single most valuable thing. You see all over social media, whether it's a ladder challenge, whether it's a tipster, whatever the case may be, they share their profile on hot takes, and it's like, here's my win percentage, here's my biggest streak, like all that kind of stuff. And then actually attach that to a sports book and categorize everything. Data is king in this industry on the winning side of it. So again, might not be talking about your target client, right? But on the winning side of things, data is king. And when it comes to responsible betting and some of the education things that you guys are trying to accomplish, I think that could be a real game changer if you could successfully make that link. And at the same time, like from the standpoint of the affiliate side, so you go, okay, here's our product, here's our ideal customer, and then here are our clients that are the sports books that work with us. Once you're able to successfully log in through someone's account and can show the sports book the data, and they can see the data of your players and everything that's come in, and it is a positive relationship for both of you guys. That's where you can obviously then take that to the next sports book and show them what you've done for that previous sports books. And then that allows the player to have data, not just at FanDuel, but at FanDuel and DraftKings and 365 and Pinnacle, and the list goes on and on. And then that's where people like us come in and go, oh shit, what did we do? We just got a bunch of winning players. But people like us come in and go, wow, there's real value here. Not only are we wagering through these guys where, we get a gift card or some tokens that we can redeem for cash or whatever the case may be, which even if you're losing on those bets have positive expected value because you're not losing money and potentially getting it on the winning side. That's cool, right? And that can provide the thrill and that entertainment that you guys are referencing without actually taking the financial risk. So like that stuff's really like, that's cool. Also, of course, bridging the gap where you go, hey, you want to bet, but you don't want to risk your money and you want to learn how to do it. Come do it here. Those are definitely really nice bridges. But I think that, down the road, if those are some of the goals that you guys can put together, which sounds like, you really, really definitely are looking at some of those things. I think that could be a really freaking cool product.
Yeah. And just to jump in there on something you said, I mean, you were talking a little bit about how like books don't necessarily some books don't necessarily love people linking accounts and like, giving login credentials to an external service. And we talked about it a bit and over the long term, like I really hope that changes, and I think it will. Like I think that, these books have a good reason to be hesitant about letting, third-party services log in on behalf of users. But over the long term, like I really hope that the free market plays out and you see that, users naturally gravitate towards books that are more in favor of these tools. At the end of the day, like it is about creating an experience for the user. And I hope the books that welcome that more than the ones that don't are the ones that win the day.
So Tyler, let me ask you something. Have you guys had sports books? Have you asked sports books about this already where they have said no to you?
We haven't directly, but we've heard of other people who have and have dealt with difficulties, just like trying to get an integration working.
Right.
We use an API service that helps us do that linking on our behalf.
Okay. And this is another, like you're a client of this company that allows you to do that.
Exactly.
So the issue with that whole landscape is that if that door opens at a sports book, potentially, let's just say for you guys, is what other doors did they just open for other like AI type services to actually then bet? And I know like firsthand, so I've never ever had a wager placed for me through some sort of bot or service. I have personally never ever done that, but I've been accused of it and not been paid because of that accusation. So where things get really slippery is then if you guys are successful in that venture, which I would be so all for, because then again, you get all this great data and ease of tracking and things like that are so powerful to winning players. But again, not your target, but I think in my sort of terms, you have that, and then all of a sudden that be used against you as a player not to pay you, even though you didn't do anything malicious or whatever. That's kind of the fear that I always see as a sharp player. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully we can, in our sportsbook reviews on our website, we can pay attention to that and to what books are really being hawks about that stuff. At the end of the day, like I hope that we can alert players to where they should be careful and direct them towards books that don't ban you for AI picks that didn't actually exist.
Right. So do you guys have profiles today of winning players? Like if someone, what's the biggest streak you guys have seen?
24.
Okay, so 24 is the record?
24 is the record. 24 days in a row. Yeah.
Are those 24 coin flips, or are those 24 like minus 10,000 favorites?
24 coin flip. We try to get them, in a range around even.
Okay, so let's just call them 24 coin flips. Would then that profile be someone like myself could be like, oh, I really want to check out this guy who went 24 times in a row. Let's see how he did the previous 24 days. Is that all readily accessible?
Yeah, and on the current MVP app, you can check out profiles, and we have a leaderboard. We feature the people that are popping off, and that guy did get a little bit of a following. We highlighted him on our Instagram and showed off. We were a much smaller company, so if he got to the $10,000 30 day prize, we would have been sweating a little bit. We were watching the game. We were watching the games that he was picking on and kind of rooting for the other team. All part of the fun of it, right?
I love it.
Yeah,
now that's the
awesome.
kind of stuff I want to talk about. That's awesome. Okay, so at day 30, what were the milestones that he did achieve? Where you guys did have to pay him something.
You have to redeem it, so you have to check out, decide to get off the train. So you can redeem for we do some jerseys and at 16 and 18, and then at 20, I think it's like a big Bluetooth speaker. At 25, I think we had, I'm forgetting,
Stanley Cup tickets.
You guys remember? Yeah,
Stanley Cup.
So he was one game from Stanley Cup tickets.
Yeah, I think so.
You know what though, guys? I got to tell you. So I understand the rationale of being like, oh shit, like we don't have 10 grand to pay this guy. Like, let's say he hit day 25, which he didn't, and he's going to the Stanley Cup on behalf of your guys' streak. All that does is motivate all the people to go on a streak and to use your product themselves. So the $10,000 is if you couldn't pay it, that's a different story. But if you did have the means to pay it, at the end of the day, it's a positive story. And I mean, that is what you want from your customers. You want them playing and winning stuff without risk, the risk of loss, like you said, providing people the thrill of the game without the financial risks of gambling is cool. So
100%. I think we would have been fine. It was just it would have been material. would have hurt. But I remember Kevin actually, when we decided to kind of rebuild the app, to a new level of quality and really expand was when we noticed, and Kevin pointed out that we were letting some odds slip through that were a little mispriced, and people kept referring friends, being like, oh my god, like these guys, they're giving away free stuff, and their odds are mispriced. We can kind of exploit this a little bit. And Kevin noticed, he's like, our user growth is off the charts right now, like because they think that not only are they getting a free lunch, but they're also getting one over on us, and people loved that. And that was when we were seeing like massive user growth, and that's what motivated us to go, okay, like this feeling is actually really addictive for people. But you're right. Like we to a degree, like we almost don't even mind mispriced odds because we want people to win. That's what makes what we're offering so exciting. So yeah, it was a cool thing that Kevin noticed.
So, Shane, nothing like getting some positive expected value to get your lunch paid for the...
Right, exactly. Hey, I'll take a free lunch every day if I could get it. I want to ask though, because we do live in this sort of space here where paying for picks is kind of the norm out there, right? Especially for people who do want to win. There's a lot of paying for picks that goes on, and I don't know that it's necessarily the greatest thing, and I think that there's a lot of shady actors in that space. And I'm kind of wondering, because you are able to track people, and you can identify winning players and potentially long-term winning players. Will your platform, your service, sort of offer those people's picks on a regular basis for free? Like, will people be able to tail that person that went 24 in a row on an ongoing regular basis if they choose to? And will there ever be any sort of cost associated with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. We're still thinking about, so we definitely will give you the option to tail it either on hot takes on our app or jump to another book. And it, I think the way it would work is it would link you another book to one of your linked books, and it would fill out your pick slip for you. So the tailing will be there. James has talked a lot about, he's talked to a lot of people that do like pay for cappers on
or on
what's
Discord.
the site called?
Winnable.
Typically, yeah.
Yeah.
Dub Club.
Yeah, and Dub Club, some of those places. Yeah. So like we know that there's a huge market for that stuff, and we hope that we could be like what would you say, like a kind of a credibility rating. Yeah, we could give cappers more credibility and have them reference their profile on hot takes to justify why people should pay. And then maybe eventually we could facilitate that. We could maybe like pay gate some people's picks and have it you could check out their picks, but they would ask for a fee, right? These are all good ideas, and that's why we talk to people like you guys, because that's definitely a direction we could go down.
Yeah, the model exists today. I mean, there's a lot of handicappers on a site called Winnable, right? And you can tail them for free if they offer free picks, but then they'll also have a subscription price built into their let's, for lack of a better term, premium package or whatever the hell it is that people are using out there right now. But I think that, whenever there's something else that exists out there that's similar to what it is that you're doing, and then you go, okay, well, we got, like what you just said, we got all these users and this big wave of users that came in, and it's like, it was because we had mispriced lines. Well, there's also another part of it. It's because you're providing an ecosystem that doesn't cost the player anything. And as soon as you flip over to, going, okay, if you want this capper's picks for X price, you got to ask yourself the question of what is differentiating you from the rest of the industry now, and have we just become the rest of the industry? Mm-hmm. And that's really important because, if you mold yourself into what everyone else has become, it's you're going to find that it's hard to keep swimming downstream when the water, you've changed the direction that you're swimming in, right?
Mm-hmm. Can I ask, on a site like Winnable, how do people decide who's worth the money? Do they just look at the free picks?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the landscape that you just described, right? It's where people have their records posted, and they'll post free picks and paid picks, and a lot of cappers will use that service to sell, right? I think that it's a cool product. I think it's a cool service because they're a business that is allowing for that sort of marketplace they've created that marketplace and infrastructure so that people can play for free. They can pay people, all that kind of stuff. It's not something I spent a lot of time on, but it is something that, is out there and does exist. And I just kind of at this stage,
just to speak on that, I think
know about it.
Having like the tracking of people's picks and like really seeing and trying to quote unquote buy people's like picks and really try and get the best EV. That'll be a very much secondary aspect of hot takes. I think just having more features and having that be just another reason to stay on hot takes will be attractive. I think, at heart and at our very like basic premise, it'll be very much like the free pick'em game. But by having that and having people kind of get into it, again, typically it's beginners and new bettors doing it. And I think people will kind of be interested in not quite searching for those different, more advanced platforms to track picks, and having it be a really easy, free to play beginner kind of focused app. But still, as a beginner, you want to say, oh, like what's a good pick for tonight? Although I won't look, into dub clubs and these different platforms, it'd be cool to kind of see who's hot on hot takes right now. So it's more like having beginners feel a little more understanding of what this can really be like. And even if they go to the bigger pick providers, it's a more easy way for them to just kind of check it out and do it really easily, all in one cohesive way.
Yeah, it also paints a picture too of a little bit of a reality, right? Like, how I don't know how many users you guys have. Is that something that you know offhand?
I think we, just under 10,000, I would say.
So let's just call it 10,000, right? So you got 10,000 people, and the best guy did 24 in a row. Like, there's also a picture of reality here, right? Mm-hmm. And that's powerful. So If I want to go try to, get a streak going on your site, and I've never bet before, and I'm learning what a spread is, and I'm learning what a money line is, I'm learning what a total is, and I just lost 5 in a row, and I was like, geez, imagine I had $100 on each of these, or I just won 5 in a row, but it was because it's after I had just lost 5 in a row, and you go, hey, you guys could have a section, and I think that this would be beneficial both to someone that is good at their craft and painting the reality, where you talk about responsible gaming, where you go, okay, if I had have bet $100 every single day on all of these picks that I made, what would my current cumulative balance be? And that's where, with volume, you're actually generating an expected value, whether it's positive or whether it's an expected loss, that the user actually sees based on what they've done. So winning 5 in a row might get you all excited, where you're like, oh my God, I should have actually, this is the classic degenerate gambler's statement. I should have done this. And it's after the result has occurred, which is always, like, sports books love that, right? Because you've got someone who thinks they should have done something based on an event that has already happened, right? So you picked the Phillies to win today. That was your hot streak. Your hot streak's now at 5, but here's your cumulative running balance. It's still negative 200. It isn't like you just won $500. You're still down overall, and that's where the free marketplace, providing this quote thrill that you guys are providing for free, it isn't gonna burn any houses down or cause people to lose their mortgages or their shirts or all that kind of stuff. So that could be a really cool feature that you guys could add in there that shows people how they've done over the long term. But separately of that, they do see other people's streaks and how long they've gone. 10,000 people, 24 in a row. I mean, it doesn't sound that crazy anymore. You think 1 out of the 10,000 would just keep winning. Well, no, that's not the world that we live in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, paper trading is so big in finance. People really look to paper trading as a way of seeing what seeing the picture of reality and how people actually perform. And I think the similar mindset, you paper trade, you make a ton of money, and you're like, oh, this is what I should have done, but at least you get to see what reality looks like. And that's what we want to do. We're excited by that idea and giving kind of sports gaming a way to paper trade. And we hope to be able to offer a ton of money in prizes. And at the end of the day, it's just figuring out how we can afford that.
Yeah. We just want to give everything away, but we can't afford it. We're still figuring it out. I like it, guys. I like it.
So just very quickly, where do you guys see this a year from now? And then where do you see this 5 years?
I can start that off, I guess. We always joke around saying a year down the road, like, who knows where we're going to be, in any direction. But I think as far as like where we're really hoping to be, and obviously you've seen some really, amazing growth over the last few years, which we're really grateful for. But I think in a year we'll be a lot more established in the US. Like, we aren't, really looking to launch for another, give or take 6 months. So, we'll be kind of starting us off midway through the football season, kind of midway through NHL, NBA. But, looking back into a year, I think having some initial growth that was positive and have a little bit something to show for in the US as far as app downloads would be ideal. And, not just that, but really showing that we can also make money from this. I think, when apps typically launch, you typically take a loss and you spend a lot of money on advertising and marketing, and, understand that user growth comes above any profitability. But I think in a year, it'd be nice to see some profitability and show that our model is really panning out, and that we have seen some pretty explosive growth in the US. And then, what I'll say is in 5 years, it'd be great to see us in different continents too. I think obviously the European market and South American market are massive, not to mention Asian market and, many other markets. But I think to go in both South America, Latin America, and Europe as well. And, being a forefront for acquisition and retention in the US too, that would be the ultimate goal.
Wow, very ambitious. Sounds exciting. If you're ever looking for investors, I know Pace has a lot of disposable income. So no, this was fantastic though, guys. A lot of fun. Best of luck to the entire team at Hot Takes, And just want to say thank you for coming on the show. Where can people find you guys?
Yeah, on Instagram, Hot Takes Co. TikTok, same thing. And then our website, hottakesapp.com.
Awesome. Good stuff, guys. Tyler Amaro, CEO, Kevin Jing, CFO, and James White, COO, all from the team at Hot Takes. Guys, thanks so much for coming on the show again. And to everybody out there listening to us, sports bettors around the world, till next week, keep eating those books. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Behind the Lines. Remember to like, download, and subscribe. We are on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. Have a betting story or want to be featured on our podcast? Drop a note in the comments below. And if you want to join in Play Live, use promo code Behind the Lines.